And we will go ahead and get started, and I'll keep an eye on the participants and letting folks in as they're joining us this morning. But good morning, and thank you all so much for joining us today. We have Kristen Young with us, and today is all about going above and beyond and showing our student workers, those working learners, the recognition and appreciation that they deserve all year round. I know we did just celebrate National Student Employee Appreciation Week this past April, but I do think it's important that we're showing appreciation and recognition to those students and all of the work that they're doing, not just for us in our departments, but for the university as a whole. So let's get into it. As I mentioned, we have Kristen Young joining us today. Kristen, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I recognize some of you from the last workshop. My name is Kristen Young, and I'm the Assistant Director of Leadership and Workforce Development, which is a part of the Central Human Resources Office. And this is my Bitmoji, little old now. It's from 2018, but at the time it seemed really cool. And I wanted to start with this slide because one of the keys to appreciation, it's a lot like love. Have you ever heard the phrase, to really love someone, you first have to love yourself? Right, you've heard that, like total therapy thing. So it's the same with appreciation. If we're so focused on what we're doing wrong and we don't stop to think, hey, I'm bad, blank. No, I'm not going to put the blank in there, but this is me when I'm at my best. And I just came from a meeting where a colleague of mine kicked butt, and I can't wait to finish this so I can go tell her how cool she is. And I'm appreciating the fact that I kind of helped her get there. That's not what I'm going to say to her, but you have to appreciate yourself to recognize greatness in others. So that's step one. That's why I put my show off myself slide in here. I'm the SDP goddess, if you're wondering what that is. It's called the Supervisor Development Program. I run it, and I think of myself as the goddess, and I don't have a problem bragging about that, and neither should you. So if we're going to talk about appreciation, let's make sure we start with ourselves. So everybody, think to yourself how awesome you are right now. Give yourself some praise internally. You could chat it if you want. Show off. Let the world know how amazing you are. Did you do it? A little self-reflection. Okay, Abby, take us to the next step.
So today, our agenda here, we will be learning what is recognition and why is it important, especially with our working learners. We'll be listening and hearing about some best practices, strategies, tips, and ideas on how we can be implementing this, again, year round, not just during our National Student Employee Appreciation Week. We'll briefly discuss ways to avoid recognition going wrong. So being cautious of how we're saying things, when we're saying things, just to make sure that that recognition isn't going negatively. It should always be going positively. Kristen also has a couple of resources that she's going to be sharing with us so that we can use those. And then again, just showing different ways that we can be utilizing and showing the recognition year round. So what is recognition, Kristen, and why is it important?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you guys, because you showed up to this workshop. So I have a feeling everyone knows what recognition is. We get the concept, but I would love to hear from you first. And we have a small group. You can just take yourself off mute or put it in the chat, whatever you prefer. But why is recognition important? Why should we be even going to a workshop on this? I'm waiting if someone's going to come off mute or chat.
Well, I think it's important to recognize that we need to let students know that they're, respected, as well as the job that they do is important to what we do. For us, if it wasn't for our tutors, we wouldn't be here, or our student workers, we wouldn't be here. So yeah, just letting them know how important they are in the process.
Absolutely. We want to make sure they are aware of that, because when you're a working learner, you're balancing a lot of things, and you can feel Like, oh, I'm just going to work. Oh, this is just a job. But when we think about it, like, what would we do without them? Yeah, it's not just a job, it's critical. Thank you for that.
I think also with student employees, for some of them that we have, I know sometimes this is the first job they've ever had, even. And I think, they are used to, in a more of a classroom setting, getting a lot of feedback in one way or another. And so I think, sometimes the work environment is different, but I think we're also helping student staff transition to some of the differences with work from like what they're used to from classroom settings and that. And I think that makes a difference, like in like the type of recognition that they need may not be exactly the same as it would be for even us. I'm not saying that it isn't important for us, but I also think that's something to consider is how that plays a role, that this for quite a few of our staff is the first time that they may have had a job. So.
And we want that experience. Thank you, Darby, for pointing that out, because we want that to be a good experience. We want them to learn the skills of, hey, I was appreciated in my first job. And so when they go out into the real world, they can replicate that, or they can realize I'm in the job where I'm not being appreciated. And I know better because I worked for ASU, and ASU was super cool and appreciated me. So we're setting them up for success in their future career in so many ways with recognition. Excellent point.
And then I did have somebody else put in the chat that by giving that recognition, it's also building morale. And I think that's an excellent point as well. Any final thoughts on this before we continue?
I think it's good as like a reflection piece too, because a lot of times before you do that recognition, your students might not even realizing that they've been doing, above and beyond. So they might not have paused and have been able to do that. So I think taking the moment to make sure that you're doing it helps them also pull out, all the skill sets and everything they've been developing too.
Excellent. It's a working learner. They're learning the world of work.
Absolutely. All right,
Okay.
so moving forward.
So my question is, and if you attended the last workshop, you probably know the answer to this, but if you didn't, that's okay. We're going to show you. So throughout the last 60 years, researchers have been asking employees, what motivates you? Obviously, yeah, we need to make money. We need to pay for things, but what truly, truly motivates you the most at work? And if you had to rank them, let's say I gave you 10 items, what would you put at the top? And given that you're in this workshop, I think you can probably guess, but we should show them, Abby. When employees rank these 10 items, look what's at the top. Appreciation. Look where wages is. Wages is in the middle. Appreciation is more important to an employee than good wages. And I can attest to this. I don't know if anyone has ever had a job where things weren't the best, like maybe your office was in a cellar or you had to deal with a lot of noise. But if you had a great boss, you stuck around because that great boss appreciated you and told you what they appreciated about your work and demonstrated to you your impact on others. That would keep me at a job even in not the best of circumstances. And it's proven by science. So I just wanted to ask, right. And the good joke I was about to say, none of us are going to get rich in education, right? Including our working learners. So yeah, good wages better not be at the top. But I was going to ask, does anyone have a story or an example of a job where you weren't appreciated and you're no longer there? It's always good to hear from the audience what they've experienced. Like I worked at Jack in the Box in high school, and I had a boss who said I didn't do a good job because I said, "Can I help you?" instead of "Hi, can I help you?" Yeah, I quit that job. Yeah, that did not last. That's true story. True story. Anyone else have any non-appreciated experiences you want to share?
I think I have a good one. My very first job, aside from babysitting, my first actual paycheck job, I worked for an inflatable jump house, bouncy house type business. And we would go to different, you know, small town festivals, high school parties, like those kind of little things. And I was myself a high schooler. I was 16 years old, and they definitely used us strictly as like, you know, you're a body that can roll up this floaty, rather than appreciating and making that human connection with us. I knew that the second I left that job, it didn't matter to them. To them, it wasn't like they were losing a key player or anything, even though I think I have good work ethic. I knew that if I left, they would just replace me immediately. And so by leaving that job, I didn't feel bad, to where, you know, as I grew as a professional and matured more, I realized when I was being appreciated. And then therefore I felt bad leaving the job. You know what I mean? Even though I knew it was for better opportunities and growth.
Classic example. And I have this image of Abby with bouncy houses now. That's funny. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep going. I think, oops, so this is, I don't think this needs to be said, but sometimes I think we forget. So maybe it is worth repeating. You guys already mentioned morale. It also helps people be more supportive of one another. So if you're noticing a team, a couple of your working learners aren't getting along, just by you showing appreciation, that can help them improve their mindset a little bit so that they feel better about coming to work. And thusly, when we feel better about coming to work, we're more likely to get along better with other people, even if we don't like them. It's a funny thing about the brain, right? If it's in a positive space, our brains are so much more creative, collaborative, all the stuff we want our working learners to learn about the world of work happen when they're in a positive space. So build morale, you can see motivation go up. And I think, as Abby was saying, she didn't feel like she really belonged at the bouncy house company, whatever it was, that there's no loyalty because she didn't get any in return. And it's the same with our student employees. They are not making a lot of money. And I've heard, rumor has it, you can make $17 an hour at In-N-Out Burger, I think. So yeah, so if we can't match that, what we can do is appreciate and value and show that they do belong and they are important to us. Recognized employees are happy employees. That's what we always say in my department. Okay, and my last, as if I haven't drilled it in enough, I just have to say, year-round recognition is the biggest thing I want to make sure you leave with today. It's not just at the end of the semester. Like, don't just throw a pizza party and be like, oh, I did recognition. Yes, the pizza party is great, but when employees feel recognized all the time, they're more likely to stay. They're better leaders when they move on to the leadership role, and they're just happy. And I don't know about you, but I want to work in a happy environment. So enough. I think we should get to the next thing.
So where do we start? And especially with our working learners, right? So obviously the first part is, as the supervisor, to see and really watch what our working learners are doing and the work that they're producing. So I would like at least one person to give an example of a time that you may have seen your working learner doing something where if you didn't show that recognition or the appreciation that you could have. And I'll go ahead and give a first example. In one of my one-on-one meetings with one of my working learners, I had told her, hey, I noticed that you've really stepped up when it comes to helping with graphic designs and putting forward designs to be used on our website, on our social media. I think that's awesome. And her mouth dropped and she was like, really? You think I'm doing good? And I was like, absolutely. Like, you're doing better than I'd be able to produce. That's for sure. So the fact that she didn't even realize that she was doing as well of a job as I see, and hearing her supervisor say that, I've noticed she's taking even more pride in the work that she's doing, and she's excited to be showing me these graphics that she's creating for the program. So does anybody else have an example that they can show or share with the group? Whether you want to come off mute or throw it in the chat.
I guess I'll just add here, I'm not currently supervising a student, but I have in the past. And I think for a long time, I didn't really take the time to identify and praise what she was doing. I think I was more focused on trying to get her skills and, you know, other aspects of the job that I really didn't think about that part of it. And it's not till the last, I don't know, maybe since I got involved in this program that I started thinking about trying to identify things about her specifically that were sort of special. She had some passion for like recycling and green things. So I kind of gave her a project in the lab that she really took under her wing. And then in the end, I did praise her. But I guess I went like a year or maybe even longer without really like identifying and saying to her, these are the things about you that are really amazing to, like, you know, bolster her confidence and give her motivation to continue on. So anyway, it's just kind of an awakening now. So it's not even, it's a whole lot of years of examples.
And I was just going to say, Jeanette, I know that you just said, you know, it was probably about a year, if not longer, that it took for you to identify. And I think it's important to point out and acknowledge that if we are noticing that it's been a few months, maybe even a year, it's important to acknowledge that we're recognizing that it's been a while to bring it back to our, as a supervisor, our attention, and to bring that back to light and really give them that recognition and praise, just again, to create that loyalty, that sense of belonging, and making sure that they're happy with their job and stay with us, right? Rather than leaving before they graduate type thing.
Absolutely.
Any other examples? All right, so ways to recognize an individual's ABCs, so their attitudes, behaviors, and contributions. One thing that I want to note is important to be specific when praising or recognizing the work that our working learners are doing, rather than just having a blank praise, hey, good job today. Yeah, that's cool, but make it more specific. Was it, you had a really positive attitude when that individual came into the office and they may have been grumpy, but you remained positive and happy? Or you know, contributions, you've been adding a lot of work, you've been doing a lot of extra work, and I know that that wasn't in your job title or your job duties, but thank you so much for stepping up and taking on that extra workload. So what contributions, you know, did they do that might have been above and beyond? Really focusing on those and just remembering the ABCs to recognize our students, so their attitudes, their behaviors, contributions.
I think attitude is the one as a supervisor, I miss, like I just miss that opportunity to let them know, hey, thank you for, you know, showing up early for this event today. I know it's early, but you had a smile on your face and you were ready to go. Like, you know, those little things can be also very easy to recognize. It doesn't take a lot. I mean, all the student really has to do is show up and smile, right? So it's easy to catch. It's also easy to just move on though. So take a moment and appreciate the attitude.
Yeah, we had a staff meeting where we just had a random slide. We were doing stats for our tutoring center. And, you know, I would give them stuff like, what's the top, you know, 5 courses we tutor? And they would put something in. And then another slide was, who's the person that makes you smile at work? You know, just random. And one of our tutors, who, it wasn't surprising, he was mentioned several times by other tutors. And, you know, it was like on a, you know, it was on a slide. So everybody could kind of see their name pop up. If it, I think it was on, we used, what's the it's a Google, I can't even remember the name of it, but his name popped up.
Sarah?
Well, no, it's the one, now I'm going to try to think of it because it is really, it's a jam. Oh, you said it, Jamboard. Yeah. And so they were able to put a sticky note up with his name on it. And then afterwards, that wasn't, I think it's important to see that. Some students don't want to make a big deal about it, but what I made sure to do is go back and say, hey, one thing that I noticed during staff meeting is your name came up quite a bit. And that says a lot about you and how you affect the center and how, because it is, I mean, when people see him walk into the center, they smile, and it's not only other tutors and other desk aides, but it's students that he works with too. So that kind of impact, I think, is important, and it's important to let students know that they do have a positive impact on others. Yeah, and it just makes work fun. I mean, people like coming in, and now we have some of our staff meetings on Fridays, even though it's all online, we have a group of students that come into the library for our staff meetings and just kind of hang out with each other. So that's kind of a fun piece of it too.
Thank
Thank you for
for
sharing that, Sarah. Sorry, Kristen. I just wanted to say, I think the idea in using Jamboards and being able to let others go in and put on a sticky note on that whiteboard to share later with that student. I think that's a fun example of how to show recognition.
And I was just going to point out that Sarah said it's a happy place. That's exactly right. That's what recognition builds us up to. We want work to be a happy place. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go to work somewhere that's not happy. So, okay. So if you're thinking to yourself, wow, these people are right, I need to be doing more recognition. How do I do that? I have a few suggestions for you. Actually, we have a lot of suggestions for you, but these are the 3 areas you want to be thinking about. The day-to-day stuff is the foundation. And I've had supervisors ask me, well, do I have, like what, every week, every day? I don't think there's a magic formula, but I will tell you that the science says a supervisor who connects with an employee every day is going to have a better impact, the employee's going to perform better. So even just the hi, how are you is enough to in the science to show that the employee feels at least cared about. So if you want to take that one step further, every day that you see that employee or on Zoom, or to send an email or a Slack message and just let them know, thank you for something. Now, as Abby said, though, you want to be specific. I mean, it's nice to say good job today. That's fine. But it means a lot more. Have you ever gotten a Sun Award, and it pops in your email in the morning and you're like, and someone says, I really appreciated that you waited for me, even though I was running late, and you made the workshop still go on time or something like that. And it's like, they noticed, like I did do that. So every day is great if you can find something to recognize. But as I'm going to show you next, you don't want to be insincere, right? I mean, you don't want to be complimenting their hair if you actually don't have a compliment about their hair. It should be work related, and it should come from the heart. Also, we want to do above and beyond. And then milestones was the last thing I was going to talk about. Before I get to the next slide. Abby and I are working out our choreography. I wanted to mention milestones. Don't forget to celebrate things like, graduation. We have an employee in our office who's getting married. And some people are more private about that. We're going to talk about it in a second, how to figure that out. But we're celebrating that in our office. And also someone who just graduated. Boy, you should have seen the balloons without helium. There's no helium available in Arizona right now. Anybody feel me? Anyway, we had balloons all over her desk. How about if it's their second semester coming back? Celebrate it. That's a milestone. Welcome back. It's your second semester or your 1-year anniversary of working with us. Just a little certificate you could print out, a Word document that says 1 year, good job, thank you. So don't forget those milestones. They give you just another reminder to recognize. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Abby. Okay, so the expert in recognition, if you ever want to Google it, is Dr. Bob Nelson. He has a book, I think it's 3001 Ways to Recognize Employees. And he says we got to follow the ASAPs. In my field, I'm HR. We have acronyms for everything. But these are some really good tips for how to do recognition. Do it soon. Don't wait. There's nothing that falls more flat than when you see someone or they send you an email, hey, I'm sorry, it's been 2 weeks and I forgot to say thank you for, you're like, well, I appreciate the thank you, but in the moment is a lot more meaningful. It just is. That's how our brains work. So try to do it as soon as humanly possible. Like as soon as I get out of this workshop, I'm going to send a Sun Award to that coworker of mine who did a great job this morning. I can't wait to send it. Do it as sincere. I've already mentioned this, because you're truly appreciative. People ask me, well, Kristen, I don't really like this employee. Like they do good work. Sometimes I don't know. Do I have to appreciate them? And I'm like, you can't think of something to appreciate them on, then don't, because it's going to sound insincere and kind of silly. But I often, usually after a conversation, the person will go, oh, you know what? They're always on time. They're always on time. Why haven't I noticed that? Just because I don't like this, I can appreciate that. So yes, make sure it's sincere. We don't want to be phony. Give the details, exactly what it was that they did, because that's how they learn. It was Jeanette, I think, that was pointing out in her class, in her classroom with students, she reflected on how they contributed. She thanked them for their contributions. And it was partly a way to reflect on what they've learned. It's the same with recognition. I don't know what I did well unless you tell me. So tell me, hey, Kristen, I noticed you finished that spreadsheet so quickly and you were able to move on to the next task without me even saying something. That shows initiative, and I really appreciate that. So now my brain's going, oh, initiative, I took initiative. That's a good thing. So that's why you need to be specific in your recognition. Also, I know we live in the world of Zoom, so now we kind of have to replace in person with Zoom. But a face-to-face, even if it's camera to camera, thank you is very effective. We often will send a quick email, we'll send a Sun Award, and those are good things. Please do those. Don't forget to use that personal contact. If you can do it face-to-face, it has a bigger impact. And then just a quick, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't mix in a negative with a positive. It's easy to do because we think we're helping as supervisors. We'll be like, hey, I know you really screwed that up last week, but this week you got it. That's not really a compliment. That's a backhanded compliment. You don't want to go to what was wrong. You just want to stick with what was right. I really appreciate you answering the phone, even though we were super busy today. That's it. Stop. You don't have to go with I know last week it was a problem. Let's not go there. Let's stick with the positive. And the other interesting thing I get asked is the similar question is, I don't know, that employee's not doing so hot. Like you want me to, I'd rather recognize my student working learners who are doing really well. Yeah, you should, but you might be missing an opportunity with that working learner who's not doing so well. Maybe they need that little pick me up. I know I've been in that place in my life where if someone had just said, hey, Abby, you're doing a great job with the bouncy house, right? I might have been more motivated to improve other parts of what I was doing, but I wasn't, no one was giving me any recognition. So my bouncy house skills were poor. So yeah, even with someone who's not doing well, look for something to appreciate them on. Any comments or questions about these techniques? What's coming up for you? What are you thinking? Just checking.
I think just because just because we can get so busy in our department, sometimes the thank you is delayed. And so that's something that I definitely want to work on, because it's like, yay, they fixed this portion of something for me, and now I'm going to go forward with that. Instead of taking that step to be like, oh my gosh, that was so awesome that you're able to do that for me to be able to do my work essentially. So yeah, that's kind of something that I think I'll work on going forward. Yeah.
If you're able to do your work, that should be a little, reminder, I had better go recognize them because I couldn't do it without them. All right, so we have an activity for you.
Yeah, so yeah, go ahead, Kristen, you can explain it if you'd like to.
So Abby's gonna, I assume she's gonna put a link in the chat to this worksheet because we'd like you to experience what it's like when someone asks you, how do you like to be recognized? Because that's one of the keys with recognition. Not everybody wants to see their name on a Jamboard. There are people in this world who are introverted, would prefer, if you want to thank me, please do so quietly. Don't do it in front of a group. So how do you find that out about people? The best way is to ask. How do you find out what they like? Like, what if I give you a Snickers bar as a thank you and I find out you're allergic to peanuts? Oops, you know. So here, use this tool. That's what we're giving this tool to you. And we wanted to try to see what it feels like for you to talk about this with someone else. I want to see if you come back with happy chemicals in your brain. So Abby, do you want to put them into breakout rooms? And what you're going to do is in your breakout room, take turns sharing. Okay, on this list, I love it when I get flowers. I really appreciate that. I don't really like public praise. Talk about what you want in terms of recognition, because I want you to feel that experience of what it's like when someone asks you, how would you like to be recognized? When's your birthday? What kind of gifts do you like? What's your favorite restaurant? Things like that, so you can be prepared to recognize. And not all of them have to be something you buy. Someone, like if they just like a Star Wars movie, on May the 4th, you can send them a quick little May the 4th be with you Han Solo emoji or something. So let's try it. Let's see what it feels like. I want to see if you come back with happy chemicals in your brain.
Does anybody want to share something maybe they thought was interesting? Maybe you learned something new about yourself, or just is this something that maybe you might be implementing and having your working learners fill out this worksheet to move forward? I was sharing with a couple of the groups how personally, as a supervisor, I love birthdays, my birthday, I love celebrating other people's birthdays. And one of my working learners, I brought in just one single balloon and a little bouquet of flowers. And I thought it was a great gesture. And she was embarrassed and mortified because then all eyes were on her and everybody was talking to her. And so I learned that, hey, maybe next time I should ask people if they're okay with everybody knowing it's their birthday, right? Rather than just assuming because I like it, everybody's gonna like it. Does anybody want to share something, or maybe an example that they found from their little breakout room? If not, that is totally fine.
I want to share something just that I shared with the rest of the group in the breakout. I have asked before about what types of recognition. I think my mistake was I left it very open-ended. And for some people, if this was their first job, they have no idea what that recognition looks like. So most of the answers just came in the form of like food and snacks, which is good. But I feel like this worksheet really does have a range of different options, which will be really helpful. That way they can see that it can come in different forms and it doesn't always have to be gifts.
Absolutely, and that's a great point, Amy. So leading into the next slide, I know in April—
Abby, I don't think you're sharing your screen.
Oh, shoot, thank you.
You're welcome.
Rookie mistake, sorry guys. All right, so now going forward, so in April, I had shared with all of the supervisors different ideas and ways that we can be showing appreciation during that National Student Appreciation Week. And we had, here at the Work Plus Program Office, we had compiled together a list of different ways, anywhere from absolutely cheap to very inexpensive ways to be showing. So again, just kind of want to highlight on those. So a sincere word of thanks, that is absolutely free. And as Kristen has mentioned, that can go a long way. Again, creating an ABCD, so using our ABCs, this one being going above the call of duty. So going above and beyond what I have asked you to do. Again, offering flexible scheduling. So, hey, you've done great this week. How about on Friday, come in an hour late and I will cover the first hour of your shift. Like that's something very simple. inexpensive to free. You are showing the student, you know, I value what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Take an hour and I will cover that for you. One that I did not think of and I love is a LinkedIn recommendation, especially here within Work Plus. We are always going on and on about, you know, we're here to help our working learners build themselves professionally. And one piece of that is their LinkedIn profile. And I know that that's been a session that we've had for the working learners, is the importance of building that professional presence online and the importance of a LinkedIn profile. So as their supervisors, we know a great deal about their work ethic, how they work. Giving that recommendation on a LinkedIn profile, that can go a long way. And maybe it doesn't mean a whole lot to the student right now, but I'm sure by the end of their academic career and as they're graduating, they'll see that importance there. Again, honoring them maybe at a staff meeting if they're okay with that public recognition, giving them a quick shout out at the staff meeting. Provide opportunities for them in any way. Ask them, you know, what's something that you might want to work on? I know one of my working learners had expressed to me that she wanted to know more about Microsoft Excel and all the different functions that she can be utilizing with that. So we got online and we looked, you know, on LinkedIn Learning classes, like all the different Excel courses that she could take there. I, you know, found different projects within our program office that, hey, this might be something that we could be using an Excel sheet for. Do you know, is there a certain function that we can use to utilize Excel for this? And she was so excited to have a new project with using a skill that she's started to develop more on, right? So there's just a couple more tips and ideas on low cost ways of showing that appreciation and recognition to our students.
And I just want to throw in our office, we try to remember to bring our student employee with us. Yesterday, there was an event where it's the meeting and event planners on campus have this event every year, and you can get a whole bunch of free stuff like an ASU keychain, or they have cookies. And so we try to make sure we bring, if we can. I mean, if they have to cover the office, it's not going to work. But if they can come, get the free cookies. Why not? You're part of the team. Come with us. So those are opportunities that are free.
I will say, Kristen, I did the exact same thing, and I brought both of my working learners with me. And when we walked in, because we registered, we got all in, and they both looked at me and they're like, "Can I go get a piece of pizza? Can I go try this? Do I get one of those? Can I take this?" And I was like, "Yeah, as long as you get information and bring me back a business card and how we can use it in our office, absolutely. Go get those free promo items and snacks, right?" So that's a great point there too.
Yeah. Okay, we're running a little low on time, so just a quick few things about don't do this. Don't do this. We've already said, don't let it go stale. You know, recognize on the spot as soon as humanly possible. Have a process to use this worksheet, or at least some set of questions, so you know what the employee, student, working learner appreciates. Don't be too generic. Be specific. What behavior did you appreciate? What attitude did you appreciate? And don't take the credit. I laugh at this one because I want to thank this employee from this morning, and I'm tempted to say, "You learned so much from me. I'm so glad you're putting to work all the things I taught you." That's not a compliment. That's not a recognition. What I need to do is chill out and just say, "You did a great job. You did this. This is why." It's not about me. When you recognize someone else, just remember it's not about you. And I don't think any of us would ever criticize someone publicly, but it doesn't hurt to mention recognition doesn't work if they're feeling humiliated. It's too late. Okay, let's keep moving. A few resources I wanted you to be aware of, and as I understand it, Abby sends the slides to you, or just the resources afterwards. There is a recognition website for human resources. You're going to notice a lot of it is focused on staff, not student employees. But there are some interesting things there, like, did you know you're supposed to be getting an award as a staff member after 5 years, 10 years of service to ASU? The Sun Awards are mentioned there. And then this new piece of information is the Appreciation Hub, which is on the next slide. I want to show you what it looks like. Did you know you can do little thank you cards, birthday cards with ASU colors and ASU themes, and either print them out or send them by email to the working learner? So we do have this appreciation website. It's also got some presentation tips on how to recognize and some other resources, some training on recognition. So I just want to make sure you're aware of this new, we call it the ASU Appreciation Hub. And yes, it can be utilized with student employees.
And as Kristen did say, I will be sending a follow-up email that has all these links because I wasn't aware of this Appreciation Hub until recently. And it is amazing the amount of templates and various, like Kristen said, there's welcome to the team, happy holidays, happy work anniversary, like a wide variety of different ones. And that is a quick, easy way to, as Kristen said, either print out or send in an email just to show that recognition to the employees. So another way to show appreciation and recognition to the student employees is utilizing these fun, silly little holidays, if you will, right? So there's a lot of various holidays nowadays. I feel like there's a national something something day every day. So you can pick up on those and really use those to your benefit to help show recognition to your employees. So again, I know we've mentioned here within the Work Plus office, the National Student Employee Appreciation Week. That's the second week in April. There's different national thank you days, like just a general thank you today, right, on January 11th, or moving forward, National Supervisor Day for all of us supervisors. I know we also have student employees that act as supervisors to other student employees, using that day to highlight maybe those senior working learners, right? You can do bi-weekly or monthly Sun Awards. So maybe, you know, like, hey, on Thursday, I'm gonna just send a Sun Award to one of my working learners just to really, you know, an out of the blue thank you. I recognize what you're doing. You're important to the team, Sun Award, right? As Kristen had said, adding birthdays, anniversaries, maybe service dates, when you're graduating from ASU, add that to your personal work calendar so that it doesn't slip your mind. If you know you have, you know, 5, 6 students graduating in December, add that on your calendar now so that it doesn't slip your mind when you're getting close, when we're getting close to that date. Again, I know I mentioned just some of those silly holidays, right? So you can go online, there's calendars that show you all of these quote unquote national holidays, if you will, that you can go through and look at. Again, every month of the year, there's something going on. One example, if you're just looking at these and you're like, well, I don't know how this would relate to my student workers. So like on Tuesday, September 13th, this coming year, Positive Thinking Day. Just be positive that day and give a positive note or a positive statement to your working learners. Turn their day around. Positivity is contagious, right? So if you're positive, that's going to flow to your student workers, that's going to flow throughout your unit, your department, and just cause a positive, happy place for everybody to come to work at. And then this is going to be one last activity, but we are short on time. But again, I will put it in a follow-up email for you all. Another link just for those thank you cards. When can you start? You can start absolutely right now, right? It takes just a few moments out of your day to write one of those digital thank you cards and send it to your working learners. What impact could it have on them, right? How did it help your unit, your team, the customers that you're helping? What attitudes or behaviors have been displayed, the contributions that they've made? Those are just all easy ways and topics to focus on when you're showing that recognition and appreciation to your student workers.
And that's it. Those were our suggestions and ideas. And there were some great comments in the chat about Just Because Day is August 27th, right at the beginning of the semester. Let's use that as a just because you are the best student working learner ever day. This is my contact information, and you certainly know Abby's. If you have any questions or comments, now is the time. We have like 4 minutes left. Look, we did it, Abby. I think you guys should send us all a thank you card just as practice. No, I'm just.
And I did see Lauren had asked for the link for the Recognition Hub. I will go ahead and throw that in the chat right now, but of course I will be sending an email with that link again for you all, but there is the link now if you guys do want to jump on there and start looking. This is, again, the Appreciation Hub, and you can see there's e-cards to send, there's those presentation tips that Kristen had mentioned, and then again, just some more resources for you all in regards to recognition and the appreciation towards our students and even your fellow colleagues, right? This doesn't have to just stay with our working learners. You can use these tips and tools towards your colleagues, maybe even towards your supervisor and beyond. So as Kristen mentioned, though, that is the end of our presentation today. Thank you all so much for joining us. You are free to go if you guys would like to stick around. If you have any comments or questions for Kristen, you are more than welcome to stick around. Otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.